use your microphones.
All right, we ready?
We're ready.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Quorum call, looks like we're good. Thank you all for being here so we can have a quorum. Do we have any public comments on any items on the agenda?
One public comment is like to welcome Chief Ryan Crawford to our committee.
Yes, absolutely. Good to have you.
Appreciate the warm welcome.
Welcome to all the fun games.
We appreciate you filling some pretty big shoes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, welcome, Ryan.
She did.
He's our vice chair by default, right?
Yeah, you're filling all the shoes.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wanting him to know that Brian's not answering me either.
Brian, just to confirm, is Ryan going to fill the vice chair position by default? Or do we need to do something about that?
It would probably be appropriate for the committee to take action on that, consider it, just so it's,
I so move.
We're assuming you would like to be nominated, sir?
Yeah, I have an opinion. Yeah, no, I shared that.
Well, you were here early. That kind of a lot.
Right. No, I'm more than willing to serve in that capacity, and I just need a minute to get, like I said, to get my sea legs here to.
Okay, I will second the motion then.
Great, we've got a first and a second to appoint Ryan as vice chair. Any comments, public or otherwise? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You get a welcome and a congratulations in the same 5 minutes.
People that aren't here. I know.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm in the room. So.
You smiled at him.
All right, we've got the minutes from our January 10th meeting. If anyone has any comments, please let us know. I'll take a motion to approve otherwise.
I'll move to approve.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, new business. We've got an agenda item, Dive 38, Walt Hartley. Are you ready to come chat with us? Great, welcome, Mr. Hartley.
Thank you guys very much. Can you hear me okay with the microphone without? I'll try
With
to do
is
my
better.
best. Okay, I'll do it with it. Thank you guys very much for your time and consideration of all this stuff. So to give you a little background, what we're asking for is a positive recommendation for you guys to, positive recommendation to the TDC and then the BCC to add charter permits for the purpose of dive operations. So to give you guys a little background, I grew up around here, been swimming in the water all my life, and have a snorkel business called Snorkel 38. We take guided tours out to the Grayton and Inlet Beach reefs. We've been doing, this will be our 3rd year doing that. So we'd like to augment those operations to include scuba diving as well. And part of the big motivation there is all of the investments that Walton County has made, other different organizations in deploying all of these reefs, and also the popularity that the Underwater Museum in particular has gotten, and getting people out there, making memories, letting them see everything that's out there. That's really what we want to start doing. So we can just dive right in, no pun intended. So just going to go over a few of the things like locations, kind of the structure of our dive charters, give you guys a little background. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Obviously safety is paramount. There are inherent risks with diving, so wanted to touch on that. And then also a little bit of our compliance with the current beach activities ordinance and how it might look if things were changed. So first off, you can see right on the top there, I have an office and a warehouse that's right between Idle Hounds and Grayton Brewery. So right up there on Serenoa Road. That's a nice central location between the 2 launch points, primary launch points, which would be Grayton Beach and Inlet Beach. It's about a 10-minute drive to either of those. So if anything were to happen with the tours that we have actively going and everything, we'd be able to send somebody from headquarters down there and be able to reach them. You can also see here, so Inlet Beach, there's a public access there at Orange Street, and that is right adjacent to the snorkel reef. The fish dive reef is in about 60 feet of water, so a little bit further out and actually a little bit closer to, I believe it's South Walton Lakeshore Drive is the launch point there. And then I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Grayton Beach launch area. And also, I'm sure you guys are familiar, there are currently 15 charter fishing captains operating out of Grayton. And so those are kind of the permits that we want to add to, but again, not for the purposes of fishing or harvesting anything, more just for sightseeing, scuba diving. So main goal here is we would like to share our marine resources in a safe, fun, and convenient manner. Right now, the only options for people wanting to actually dive the reefs, you have to have a friend that's got a boat and a beach permit, or you can come from Destin or Panama City, which is about a 20-mile ride. I was actually out with an NBC film crew yesterday dive mastering. It was a little bit rough out there. It was a long round trip of 40 miles. So launching right off the beach, we'd really be able to cut down on those trip times and also keep things a little more safe, I'm thinking, because we wouldn't have to respond to issues on the boat. We can just come right into the beach. So kind of going over these bullet points here, all of our customers, anybody that would be diving has to sign a release and goes through a vetting process, which involves signing basically a medical release and then also talking about their swimming ability. And basically there's 3 stages that they have to go through before we can even approve them to dive. And part of that, if they haven't dove in a while, part of that involves us getting in the water with them, whether that's right there on shore or even getting in another pool and just kind of checking on their skills. So anyway, lots of good security there. We're carpooling to the beach. I have a big truck that we put all our little boats in and everything. We'd have people park. The considerations there are have people park at the public accesses, and then we could actually carpool them out to the beach. Based on the presentation on Tuesday, too, we had a little bit of discussion there and talked about possibly getting a van, which I really, really like that idea, and just carpooling straight from our warehouse. So some options there. Every dive trip that we would be conducting would be accompanied by 2 staff. One would be the dive master or instructor, then also have a boat captain. They would be on the boat at all times in case anybody popped up, or basically a dry man and a wet man. All of the primary dive sites that we would try to service lie within 1 to 2 miles of shore. The Underwater Museum is only 0.75 miles from shore. And well, we'll get into some pictures here in a second that'll give you guys a little more detail. But just keeping on running through. All of our staff carry current CPR certifications and basic water safety. Again, after some discussion on Tuesday, we're going to upgrade that basic water safety to emergency first responder, make sure we include the first aid. We also, anybody that's an instructor has already received a rescue diver certification, which is specific to diving, teaching different techniques for, basically anything that could happen with scuba diving. So good coverage there. All of our boats will be equipped with GPS, marine radios, O2 kits, just in case anything happens, a spine board as well. And the spine board's kind of cool. We get to set it up in the middle, and it keeps all the tanks and everything just right there. So it's a cool looking setup. Insurance, we are commercially insured, and then also have specialty insurance that pertains to all diving related activities when those divers are under our supervision. And then for the beach activities ordinance, the current one, have everything covered there, just trying to get that edited. So locations, again, Grayton Beach and Inlet Beach. Here we can see Grayton Beach. Scroll down a little bit. So there at the top on the beach, everybody knows where that lifeguard tower is, right there at the main, I guess, Hot Street or Garfield Street entrance. So again, the Underwater Museum, as you can see, is 0.75 miles away. That is also adjacent to another fish dive reef site with the pyramids that I'm sure you guys have seen. So some good dive sites there. We're going to be deploying 12 more sculptures in the water this year. So that's going to, so it's a growing dive site. Also have the Blue Mountain Beach Fish Dive Reef. There are also some over close to Watercolor and Seagrove that we could get to. That's kind of getting out of that 2-mile range. And then if you can see, just basically that big blue in the corner, kind of beyond the furthest points out, there are lots of different patch reef sites, little gullies and nooks and crannies and things. they're kind of scattered all over the place, but all that to say there are a lot of other options than just the artificial reefs. And one thing that we'd like to do for beginning divers is kind of use the snorkel reef. The deeper portions of that are about 20 feet, which is perfect for training purposes, also keeping us pretty close. So here's a little look at the inlet beach access. And again, the picture is a little bit smaller, but just beyond that furthest point out, again, more patch reef sites, hard bottom. You can also see where the lifeguard tower is, and then the snorkel reef. What's great about this one is being so close to the lifeguard tower and so close to that Orange Street public access makes it really easy for customers to get out there, not an issue with parking, things like that. Any questions so far? Good. So now to kind of go over the structure of our dive charters, some of the equipment we'll be using, ideas about schedules. Some of these pictures here, we don't have our boats fully set up yet, but this gives you a good idea of what we're looking at. We'd like to use inflatable boats, keep things really nice, lightweight, also much easier and quicker to get in and out of the water, but also possibility there, and we're working on a custom rack for our truck or van so that we would not have to have a trailer. Might be good to have one so we could kind of get more boats out there, fit more stuff, but if we didn't have to, that might make things a little more convenient. We're talking about 4 to 6 divers per trip. Definitely want to concentrate on smaller groups and really focus on their experience. Also from a safety standpoint, that's going to be a little bit more manageable. We're talking about doing 2 and 4 hour trips. Sometimes the 4 hour trips might necessitate us coming back into shore to reload on air tanks or anything like that. But again, very quick process with the inflatable boats. And we're, again, staying within 2 miles, so all of it's pretty close. I mean, we can make a run from right there from Grayton Beach out to the museum in less than 10 minutes. Again, all boats equipped with all of the good safety items, and insurance covers the boats, all that equipment that's attached to those as well. Picture in the bottom corner is a good friend of ours' son looking at the octopus sculpture at the Underwater Museum. And he was 13 years old diving that, so I mean, it's 56 feet of water, suitable for beginners and everything, and just really cool stuff to see. So coming on down, here's a few more pictures. The top left and bottom right are actually at the Grayton Snorkel Reef. That's a nurse shark in the bottom left, just hanging out, some spadefish over there in the left top. And then the bottom left and top right are 2 divers at the Underwater Museum. Top right is going to be same kid in the last photo, as well as Andrew McAlexander, and they are inside the skull, giving us the A-OK sign. It's really kind of fun. Bottom left is one of the artists from last year, who's actually, I believe, has submitted another sculpture this year. But everybody having a good time, lots of cool stuff to see, and great opportunity to make memories. So jumping right into safety, we're really basing this off of knowledge, experience, and equipment, just having all of the goods. So I have 20 plus years diving experience. Started when I was 12, well, a little bit before I was 12 actually, but it's just become a passion of mine. I'm a full cave diver, mixed gas, all of those things, and have been an instructor now for a little over 2 years. We do have experience conducting rescues in the Gulf. Thankfully, I have a flawless safety record. I was just in the right spot at the right time to be able to help with some of those rescues. But we have, in some of those instances, we have been able to coordinate with the fire district, the police department, and have always had a great outcome and just good cooperation historically. Again, all of the customers go through a hefty process to make sure that they are good to go, so that way we're not having anybody fall through the cracks, especially from that safety standpoint. Also had those certifications, like we said, we'll upgrade that to the basic water rescue to emergency first responder to include first aid. And then just sort of reiterating everything to go into a little bit more detail about our insurance. For commercial liability, we've purchased additional coverage, so that's up to $2 million, and then for the specialty dive insurance, up to $1 million. We have an option to go up to, I think in increments of $1 million up to $5 million if we needed to. And the county is listed as additional insured on all those policies.
That was a question. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? I don't mean to be rolling over anybody. All right.
That was coming.
Perfect. So now going into our compliance with the beach activities ordinance and kind of the present state of that. Obviously hitting all of the bullet points for, just the basic stuff, residency, all the licenses and certifications, additional insureds and everything like that. I entered the beach permit to drive on the beach, entered that lottery, still waiting to hear back.
Yeah.
We will not need any charter fishing permits. We're not going to be harvesting any fish. It's really more about sightseeing and, just sharing our marine resources with these folks. I am an underwater photographer myself, so definitely adhere to that take only pictures, leave only bubbles policy, and want to kind of help further that and cultivate that within, visitors and locals alike. Active community participation. So we've donated tons of digital content to different nonprofits such as SWARA, Cultural Arts Alliance, and the Underwater Museum. Excuse me. Also to different news agencies, the TDC, to just as these reefs have gotten more and more popular and more people are diving them, we've made it a priority to, make sure that we're getting the right stuff out there, if that makes sense. Really telling people the story behind this, what the intentions are, and helping them to understand that this is something that we want to keep going for a while, so we need to take care of it. And last point local business run by a local. I've been around here almost my whole life. I don't know who I would be if I had not discovered diving. It's just crazy to think about. We're all passionate about this area, passionate about watching it grow and also growing smartly. And so just wanted you guys to know that we're coming at it from a very good place and seated here in the county. A couple of the pictures here I want to mention. The popularity of the Underwater Museum namely, but also all of these dive sites. I remember swimming around and getting excited just to see one fish out in that Sahara Desert out there. And now you can go out there and be completely surrounded by giant schools. It's really something. And among other mentions, we were named by Time Magazine last year in the top 100 places to visit in the world. And there's actually a little drawing of the pineapple on that cover, which everybody was thrilled about. But people are just having a lot of trouble getting out there. So that's the need that we would like to address. And then, again, I mentioned we may not have to use a trailer. If we did, it would look a little bit like that, probably with less people. That's what we're hoping. But with the special rack that we're designing, we'd be able to fit boats in the bed, also rafts on the top, and then a boat on the top that would actually just, if this was the truck, it would just slide off the side, and then we can roll it right into the water. So not getting in the current fisherman's way, easy to stay out of that little launching corridor and everything. And then just some more pictures of people on the Skull, people at the Underwater Museum. So in summary here, if you guys may remember, right when the artificial reef started to get deployed, there were 2 dive shops that popped up there in Grayton. And without, without saying anything particular about those, they're both gone now. And the reason that we think that those didn't work was kind of a lack of resources, a little bit of a lack of organization. We have taken steps to really fill those gaps, have all those resources. We will have a compressor. We're going to have a boat. We're going to have all the safety equipment. So the goal here is there's tons of divers in the community, or in the area, I'll say, but we don't really have a diving community because we don't have a pass. We don't have a dive shop around here. So that's what we'd really like to address, be able to provide air fills, training and instruction across a wide range of skills. Also equipment service, and then those guided dives and charter, just getting people out there to the reefs. Not really interested in any retail action right now. We really just want to share the experiences with people. Going from Grayton is by far the easiest way to get to Uma. I can say from personal experience, a 6-minute trip is a lot better than a rough 2-hour trip. And again, just building that diving community, using all the people. We have tons of divers out here and tons of great places to dive. I think the fishermen in Grayton they have more incentive, more motivation to take people fishing than to take people diving. But to my knowledge, there are 2 that can take people diving. We want to foster safety and stewardship throughout this whole process. And so, again, in summary there, thank you guys very much for your time and asking for a positive recommendation to the TDC and then the BCC to add additional charter permits for dive operations. Thank you guys very much. This is one of the pyramids on the fish dive reefs. And that's me. It's not a turtle. It's Walt in the turtle escape. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any questions that I can answer?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to launch the boats between the cones and then go down the beach for the people to load onto the boats?
That's what we were thinking, based on how it's laid out in the ordinance now. That's, I think, what we would have to do. If there was an allowance and we could be either just off to the side, because we have an inflatable boat and are a little bit more flexible and mobile, if it was better across the board for us to be a little bit away from that corridor, we'd be happy to do that. But-
Okay. It just gets congested at 12 o'clock sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When we would try, I mean, on the fishermen's boats, they can handle seas a little bit better than our inflatables. We'd really be kind of limiting ourselves to nice, calm, flat days. I mean, ideal diving conditions. And morning time is generally always better for that, so we'd be starting most of our trips in the morning.
Got it. And your inflatables go to the site, do they stay at the site with the swimmers?
Yes, ma'am. So we either anchor right there, or we'll put a marker up and the boat will just kind of be on standby around the site. But we always want to have them there in case somebody pops up unexpectedly, somebody gets separated from the group, or, I mean, if something does happen and we come up as the group, we're going to need to get into shore pretty quickly.
Got it. Do you use shark repellent?
I have personally before. Some of them have worked better than others, but we probably would not use that on these dives. But we also, again, wouldn't be harvesting any fish, so that's definitely a good risk mitigator.
Last time we did a drone shot, when that drone went up, we counted 17 sharks around the reef.
Oh, I mean, they're all
17
over
of
the
them.
place.
Oh my God.
You ever had any issues?
We generally don't see any while we're snorkeling. Sometimes we'll see them while we're paddling out. I've had the most luck, honestly, on a stand-up paddleboard just because of the vantage point, and you can kind of see them out there more. That said, we do have some funny stories. You know, a lot of the tourists will just ask that quintessential question, you know, well, what about the sharks?
Yeah.
And we always tell them it hasn't been an issue, but we had a little spinner shark. It wasn't great visibility, and right after I'd gotten done with a good 10-minute explanation that there's nothing to worry about, this little spinner shark came into our circle, and man, he gave us a look like, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Got out of there pretty quick, but.
This is definitely needed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I have a comment if I could.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned radio communications, obviously marine radio, VHF comms. I would, from a public safety perspective, I would say that with the beach safety infrastructure and our lifeguards, I would recommend it be critical that we establish that communication link each time that you go out, so we can monitor that in real time, and should something happen, we can certainly support your efforts of getting them back in. The other thing I noticed was on your demonstration here, you're showing Walton County Fire Rescue's logo, and I would ask you respectfully that if we're going to partner in this, that in some way, shape, or fashion, that you show our logo. So,
well, we can definitely do that. Mr. David Vaughn pointed out that was actually, I think I had the wrong logo in there.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yep. And so, but no, we'll definitely do that. And he mentioned also that we definitely need to establish the radio communication. So happy to work with, everybody as much as we can.
Well, who did you say you met with earlier this week? I'm sorry.
It was not just you guys. Thank you.
Beach management. Okay,
committee.
great. So let me just make sure I understand exactly what is being asked, that we would then either support or not. So today there are 15 charter fishing permits.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are looking for the county to add permits for dive operations.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking for more than one for your organization? How?
We had a little bit of discussion about this on Tuesday. I think, just to be fair, we would have to do more than one. As much as I would love to have that exclusive market share, it's, this is really all about getting people out there and sharing those experiences. So I would say, anywhere from 3 to 5 would probably be a good starting number. But again, don't want to create more work for the county. I know you guys are all busy enough as it is.
So, Brian, do you all have any involvement with the charter permits?
We do not. So charter permits are regulated under 2257E3, and they're issued by the Drive on the Beach Permit Authority, which is Walton County. admin. Our involvement is to make sure that people that are engaged in that activity on the beach are properly permitted. I mean, you know,
From an enforcement,
and we know we have great relationships with all the charter captains. When Walt approached me about this, I explained to him that it appears that the industry or activity that he would like to have allowed on the beach is very similar to the charter fishing industry, and that I would recommend the approach be that a class of permit or a charter permit be established that provides for scuba diving, or an increase in the charter fishing permits. So the pros and cons of going either way. Second, or some discussions we had Tuesday were that if you did just do an increase in charter permits, that those might get taken up. It would be assumed that any permits, whichever way it went, would be doled out by a lottery process, to be fair. And if you did charter fishing, there's, you know, however many permits are added to it, may be completely consumed by charter fishing people and not by scuba people. And so it seems to me it's prudent that you establish a code section very similar to 2257E3, except it allows scuba charters. And there'd be a number of permits that be allowed by lottery. And then it has very similar terms and conditions that the charter fishing has, except that it be more tailored to the scuba industry. So I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read through 2257E3, but it talks about the proper licensing by the other regulatory agencies, Coast Guard, your six-pack license, any fishing licenses that are required, proper insurance, stuff like that. And so I think that would be what our business ought to be today, is do we support that? I would assume that as it makes it through the TDC advisory committee and on the BCC, that the BCC would probably say, in their consideration, put together a committee to establish the particular rules or terms and conditions. You know, as we move through, there also probably be various forms of opposition and support from different groups for different reasons.
so am I hearing you that you're suggesting that our action be more conceptual and not try to delve into the more nitty-gritty details, because that'll be worked out later? That makes sense.
I mean, not that you can't include some basic stuff, or you can go into as far as you'd like to, but I think that the
I don't think we have enough.
action by this committee would be
It's just something needed.
in the
Yeah.
conceptual phase of it, with caveat that the rules and regulations be determined when the final code, if it is accepted by the BCC, is then written.
So,
Who would be opposed?
Pardon me?
I don't,
You said you had anticipated we would have some opposition. Who would be opposed to this?
Dive
Well,
discipline.
so depending on which way you went, right, so there's a group of people that don't want any more activity on Creighton Beach. This is obviously going to be more activity on Creighton Beach. There's, the charter fishing may think that this is going to interfere with their operations. What's pure speculation? People for it, or people, I mean, we built a lot of new reefs.
Yeah, we need to get-
I was honest with them, I said, well, the reefs are new, you're right, there's a need for it, and I believe that this is the avenue that we should address the need, and that's where we are. I mean, but, you know, a lot of money spent on those reefs, and they're a great attraction to our community. We as a community should expect.
Yes.
yep,
This would be the next
we'll
phase
discuss
of
that.
our business.
We discussed because last year people were just dropping people off and coming and getting more people, and it's like, oh, that's not.
Yeah,
good.
we've got to have a controlled way.
Madam Chair, I have one more comment here. It would seem to me that if we're debating today on whether or not just to conceptually approve this, 5 permits, whatever it is, I think when you start thinking, considering the, you know, the details of if it's an exclusive permitting for scuba diving, I'm not sure how you would enforce that if fishermen wanted to get those permits and went offshore and fished, and you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's within our scope either, or if maybe you're just asking, do we support the concept of an additional 5 and this other group? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, so we're a sub-advisory committee to the TDC. The TDC is an advisory committee to the BCC on policy. And so in our case, we're a vetting process. Destination improvement, exactly what the title says. We discuss and pass recommendations on things that will improve our destination. And so I sort of understand what you're saying. And my comment earlier about that we probably ought to consider it as another class of charter.
Yes.
I agree.
They may get it and say we're going scuba diving and all that. So in Tuesday's meeting, there was a lot of discussion about that. And I reminded that committee that we've got to be careful with what we write in the code because of the enforcement mechanism,
Right.
the enforcement capability or probability. And so you're exactly right on that. I don't know if we need to try to build that into or just understand it as we move it forward.
I guess my comment was about specifically what exactly we're affirming today, that just the concept of 5 additional permits of some, I mean.
Well, I think we need to craft that, and based on what we believe should be recommended.
Okay.
And do y'all have any other questions?
I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
You have used diver down flags, and if you do, where are you finding them?
We have a whole bunch.
Can't
Where are we
find
finding them
any.
to purchase, you mean?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times we'll get them online. Also, the established dive shops there in Panama City Beach and Destin also sell them.
They've been out for a long time.
Oh, have it? Well, so I was at Emerald Coast Scuba day before yesterday, and I think they just got a new shipment of
Okay,
inventory in.
perfect.
But we definitely keep a whole bunch and always tell people in the that are going out there with the snorkel reef, seeing people paddling out on their boogie
know.
boards, and it's like, hey, got an extra.
Yes.
Why don't you use it?
Yeah. Because we had a hard time finding, even Patrick was looking for flags.
How do you,
Okay.
how do you currently get out there?
So right now we have a big raft that we can fit between 12 and 20 people on, and tow that behind a kayak just straight out from the reef. So we're not using any motors.
Somebody does a lot of work.
That's a lot.
It can be. There's some groups are heavier than others.
Oh, wow. So back to the question earlier. Do we know why there are 15 fishing charter permits? Was that set the two things, let me couch my question with this. The two things that are coming up to me, if we want to even get that specific as to the number of permits, I do think, my personal opinion is it would be good to segment it in a separate class. I also think you have to be careful. You can't make laws based on a hard stop of whether you can enforce them 100% of the time or not, right? Because even if you get 80% compliance, that's way better than Wild Wild West, okay? So my two thoughts that are coming up are safety, and I'm even thinking safety at the distribution site, launch site, and across the board, and crowding. So that leads to my question, Brian. Do you know, and I know this may not be your bailiwick, but do you know why 15 charter permits were
It was determined that it was getting too crowded down there with charter fishing.
Okay, so that leads to my concern.
We determined that.
15,
I don't know. What they did is they put a moratorium on it. 15, the way it reads is the people that have permits now have first opportunity to renew. If they fail to renew by the renewal time period, whichever ones become available are put out by lottery. And there's certain rules and restrictions you have to abide by to be eligible for that lottery.
So those are at full capacity.
Those are at full capacity right now, and I haven't heard any news of if anybody's dropping out or whatever. I understand that there will probably always be somebody that's willing to take on take an opportunity if the permit comes available.
Sure.
You have to be a business, or individuals can do that too?
have to
So the
have
rules
a
are you have to have a
Six-pack. It's a license.
So, business license not required in Walton County for
Yep.
any business. So it says, here it goes. County charter fishing operations, 15 permits total. Under this subsection, there shall be a limit of 15 permits total to be issued, which shall be issued first to the applicant to renew their permit from the previous year if permit holders do not renew the permits by June 15th. An additional number of permits that would bring the total to 15 may be issued, keyword there. County residents that meet the requirements of this paragraph may submit applications May 1st. The lottery is held by administration department on June 20th, and they have until July 1st to apply for those permits. It says they're allowed to use the charter fishing area. It says vehicles and boat trailer must be registered, shall be owned by the charter operator and used for the charter operation. Proof of residency such as voter registration, homestead, driver's license. Proof of current Coast Guard captain's license, proof of current Florida charter fishing license,
There you go.
and proof of liability insurance, not less than $500,000.
It's hard to get to.
And so those are they're fairly brief, but they do talk about what's particular to that industry and two forms of licenses. So like I said, I think, that your consideration should be, is it appropriate to just increase the charter fishing permits, make a recommendation to, or is it appropriate to actually create another class that's called scuba launch or dive permits, and then a caveat that they have their particular licensing requirements
Yes,
to run that type of business.
that would make more sense.
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree.
And-
I agree.
And I would try to keep it like that as much as I could. I mean, like I say, it's y'all's committee, y'all can certainly take on as much of the formation of it as y'all would like. Keep in mind that there's another advisory committee and there's a final BCC committee. We all know that the BCC committee is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak.
Right.
Well, and I would assume at some point staff would get very involved in working out the details.
Right.
So-
We got to that level, BCC, Brian, what is your recommendation? I'd say the two committees offer this recommendation. I recommend the committee be formed, put together of stakeholders to refine and define the terms and conditions of a proposed code section.
I recommend we leave Candy Posey alone for a week or two.
Do what?
I think we should leave Candy alone. She's pretty busy right now. Until after the permits are all done out. I wouldn't even ask her the question right now.
Oh, well, no, so the next TDC meeting is 1st of June, and then this will
Okay.
follow on the next BCC meeting, so we'll be well past that. Again, I mean, I don't want to, give anybody false hopes, but, I predict that as soon as it gets out that we're going to put more activity on Brayton Beach, because there's already right now a concerted effort to stop things down there.
The charter fishing is one of them?
No, I don't
Okay.
think they hadn't identified, but vending has been one of them. We added that beach to manage vendor program because we received notice from
Yep.
Raven Beach residents that vending was actually not allowed on their neighborhood plan. Now that, we didn't want to get into a tussle with them. And so it was recommended that we include that managed vendor program, that to stop some of the issues they have. But, there's all kinds of different groups down there. The environmentally concerned groups, the I don't want any more people in the backyard group, I hate scuba diver group.
Who would hate scuba divers?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
some people would think it's ridiculous to spend a bunch of money on that underwater route, because it's very popular in Grayson. They think we should be.
And it's environmentally
Whoever do.
a positive impact. So, one more question for you, Brian, and then I'll stop. Is there anything in the code about requirements for charter fisher customers parking?
There is not.
Okay,
And
so,
once again, the way it works now is they meet, some of the charter fishermen live right there in Grayson, and they meet there, they ride down. Oftentimes they ride in the boat down onto the beach. Other times they come down there and they walk, from wherever they park to provisions for you have to park here or you can't park there.
So, Walt, you brought it up during your presentation. I too would very much recommend carpooling from the warehouse. We've just got parking issues out our ears already, and with the launch sites being limited to 2, although we've got these reefs up and down, you know, that's, and people mistakenly say that the Inlet Beach, Regional Beach Access, has excess capacity for parking, but during season, I lived there for 3 years, I'm living there again now, during season, it did used to be empty or somewhat empty, not anymore. So, so I would just suggest that. I don't know how much the county could get involved in adding that to code or enforcing it, but that would be a great community-minded thing. Because it's a whole lot easier to find parking up there, you know, north than southward. So any other comments, questions, or recommendations for a motion?
I recommend a motion that we support this in the manner that you just described, adding a dive category to the fishing, to the charter category, and letting the county attorney and everybody write up the exact details of the code.
I will second Kelly's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I don't necessarily think this has to be a part of the motion, but Brian, maybe as it goes up through the chain, my thought would be that you start with a fairly small number. We always do this, right, when we're starting something. Let it pan out and see how it feels and looks and acts in real life. And then maybe consider based on demand and hopefully a lack of crowding and safety issues, expanding that number.
I would recommend putting a range in your motion. A range of what you feel is appropriate.
That was feeling like a
Go to 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Are
That
you okay
works?
with adding that to your motion,
Yes,
Kelly?
3 to 5.
Second still stand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Public comment? Please come forward. Can you come forward to the mic? Sorry, we're recording, so we have to do that.
Smile.
So my comment would be just to comment on the amount of parking that for bars and restaurants down there versus the public parking, and the fact that the Red Bar plan is going to stay exactly the same and is going to contribute to that parking situation down there, that pinch point was set up as a two-way street when I lived down there 20 years ago, and I've been a long-time resident. Grew up in Grayton Beach. So the fact that they are not even considering changing the plan, I think it's already set to where this, as far as I know, the county or whoever decides that's set, and that the fact that they're not adding any public parking and there's more parking for bars down there than there is for the public is a serious concern to me. So
Thank
maybe
you.
there's 7 public spots and how many spots for bars, 30, 40, 50.
Not much.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's an opportunity to add a large public parking area there rather than another bar, and this is the opportunity to do it, to provide these resources where all these millions have been spent, and businesses like Walt weren't considered in that. You're going to spend all these millions of dollars to build these reefs, and he's having to come to you like this to say, I need permission to get out to this public reef that you just created for me. So I'd like y'all to take that under
Okay,
consideration.
before you leave, can you give your name, spell the last name for the
Taylor
record?
Frappier, Frappier. Yes. I know, I bet. It's been a while, yeah.
And what was your first name?
Taylor.
Taylor. I think, not that you don't have good points.
No,
but
I know,
It's
I
a
know.
little bit out of our purview
I
here.
figured, and I just wanted
but-
that to be on the record just to,
Right.
so that there is, the fact that it tells a lot. If you're going to provide all these millions of dollars for this and you want it to be a recreational area, and he's having to come ask permission for one boat, and if he wants to take, set up the transit for that, that's a whole other issue that doesn't need to be, the county doesn't need to be involved in. But for one boat with, 4 people, 6 people maybe? Yeah, to get 4 people for one company, and if there's 3 companies, 4 companies, 5 companies, there's not those spots already set up, and we're providing all those spots for these bars and these restaurants, but not for the public to enjoy it. And so I'm just saying that looking down the road, it's not a sustainable industry. Because what, you're going to sustain these bars, but you're not going to sustain these reefs you just injected millions of dollars into.
Well, and that, I don't disagree either there, but I will say that we're not allowing him to go out or giving him permission. He already has it. We're trying to allow him a better, more efficient, more
Yeah, no.
cost-effective way.
I'm so grateful
But,
that it's being considered like this. so,
And,
yeah.
and, you know, and I also think there are some plans in the works. There is that parking lot north of 30A there
Right.
that could come into play and be very useful for this.
But
There,
that-
there needs to be some things taken into consideration in the future, no
that
doubt.
lot, and that lot is also owned by Lloyd Blue, who owns the Red Bar, as far as I know. So that's, you know, there's opportunity for the county or whoever's going to provide that part. If it's a private parking company, whoever's going to take that impetus, and it's not in place yet. And if it's a bar providing that parking, that seriously concerns me, especially with AJ's moving in there, and that's a lot of parking that could be available to not a bar, to the public. So people who want to drink, you know, responsibly, whatever people want to do, but it's, where's that public parking when we have a chance to do it right now? So, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, any other public comment? All right. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you guys all.
Very
Thanks,
much.
Walt.
Thank you, Walt.
Appreciate
And
it.
I'd like to make a brief comment. There is going to be a fundraising party at Grand Boulevard beginning at 6 o'clock this evening. If anybody would like to see the sculptures that are about to be installed for this year, they're on dry land, so you won't need a
Yay.
scuba.
They are really, really cool this year.
Neat.
Kinda crazy.
When does those go in the water?
We're looking, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before we get a timeline started, but hoping on end of June, beginning of
Cool.
July, sometime around then. But we'll keep you guys posted.
Cool.
Thank you all very much again.
Thank you, Walt.
Thanks, Walt. And by the way, I hope you end up with a lot more than one boat. Quickly, I'm thinking you will. And Brian, could we put on our next agenda, for our next meeting, a discussion of parking? We don't need to tackle the whole thing, but Mr. Taylor, I don't quite remember how to pronounce your last name, Rapier, thank you, makes a good point, and it is a big amenity that has been approved to go in, and even the county is funding to a degree or pursuing funds for, so
It'd be most appropriate for us to talk about parking next week.
Okay.
that's what I'm asking, if we can get it on that agenda.
Brayton specifically, or just in general? Or?
I don't want to tackle the entire South Walton parking issue, but maybe as it relates to the diving, and it's always easier to address these things ahead of time and plan for them than to try to address them when you've got a massive problem on your hands. So it doesn't have to be limited just to the diving, and there's a lot of work being done on parking. It might be good, Brian, just to provide us with an update on all the things that are happening parking related in the South Walton world, and then we can have some discussion around it. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, moving on to old business. Looks like we've got some items. First up, Kellogg Property and Pilcher Park update. Mary Lou, did you request an update?
I did.
You're not providing one?
No.
Updates on the way.
I can tell you, people use that park on Sundays. Oh my gosh, jet skis.
Which one, Pilcher or
No,
Kellogg?
I'm sorry, the Bay Grove Park.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be blocked, but people open it up and they're all in there during the weekend.
Yeah, so we're talking about Pilcher or they?
No, yeah, Kellogg with the update with the seawall.
All right, so Kellogg is out for bid. Bid closes on 6/3.
Okay,
We anticipate without any award problems, that we will have that open by September.
excellent.
Pilcher Park, we have permits that are imminent, I believe, and then we have one more step with FEMA that we are advertising or requesting approval from the BCC on Tuesday to put that out for bid. And what's that bid schedule? Or what's that construction schedule? You know?
Construction schedule will probably take about 4 months.
Okay. Is the Kellogg Park still closed to the public?
We have it closed.
Okay, 'cause it has been.
We have, some areas maybe roped off inside, but the park, the walls are beat. on
Right,
Hurricane
yes.
Lane.
Yep.
I'll be right honest with you, I haven't been over there in a couple of
Okay.
months.
Because the last time I went, it was locked up.
Was it? Both gates?
Yes.
We may have out the gates. I'll
Okay.
check and I'll call you tomorrow. let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you addressing this issue, Cliff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks, Cliff.
This is our engineer, but
Yes, ma'am. So I did the original design for Pilcher Park, Thomas Pilcher Park.
Yes.
And one of the things that caused the majority of damage was the storm surge. And so the DOT allowed us to put riprap up to a certain elevation around the perimeter, DEP allowed us to put riprap up to a certain elevation around the perimeter of the parking lot. We've actually gotten approval to extend the height of the riprap so that it ties into the curb on the parking lot. And what happened was when the storm surge got very high, it undermined the riprap because it got in between the curb on the parking lot and the riprap itself. And so the riprap has actually dropped about 2 feet all the way around the perimeter of the park.
Wow.
And so the construction cost just for putting the riprap back the way it was supposed to be is around $360,000.
Oh, my God.
And so we went to FEMA and we applied to FEMA for hazard mitigation dollars, which would extend the riprap all the way to the parking lot. And we just recently got that approved for another $168,000.
Great.
So it's going to be about a $500,000 project.
Excellent.
And we're able to get the hazard mitigation approved through FEMA so that the next time we have an event like this, we should not lose our riprap.
Sweet.
That's
So
great.
That's kind of where we're at right now.
Can you build a dock for me?
What's that?
No, I'm joking. My dock floated away with Michael, and it's like the third time.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. Anything else there?
No, ma'am.
All right. Red flashlight update.
I can only say that I have failed Kevin.
Aw.
And speaking of that,
Darn.
I have, we introduced it to to Jay and our visitor center people. They're supposed to be looking into it. I did not follow up with them before the meeting. But since they haven't come back to me with anything, I would bet they had stalled. But I'll get with them this afternoon. And we will determine what we can and can't do.
Okay, yeah, the last time I talked to Jay about it, he said that they were evaluating the actual wavelengths of the red flashlights that were proposed to ensure that they were the correct wavelengths, red wavelengths.
Well, about 15 years ago, Sharon and I had a turtle event at Gulf Place, and I provided the flashlights, and she provided the stickers that they put on the end of them.
We have
Is that what-
Kelly had introduced an idea of just having a big flashlight.
You know, the
Okay.
little inexpensive ones that you
Sure.
put on a keychain or whatever,
Sure.
have it be a
Yes.
visitor center item.
And
Yes.
she's been, on it for several months now, and it's kind of installed a little bit.
Lori Sear gives those out at the Walton Outdoors. It has a whistle, a compass, and a red light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she'd be a great resource. Probably Oriental Trading or something.
Yeah.
They last more than
Thanks
10
for being
minutes.
articulate.
I'll,
Yes,
circle
thank you,
back
Kelly.
around with Jay and company and see if they evaluate wavelengths,
Okay,
and we'll make something happen.
okay,
I think
appreciate
it's
it,
a
thank
good
you.
idea and Good idea on many fronts, we're looking for swag to give away with beach ambassadors, and yesterday we reported that our sales center had increased its sales by 75%.
Wow.
So, let's put some more swag in there and make it happen.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Brian, do you have any other updates that you wanted to provide us?
The managed vendor program seems to be working as designed. We've had the typical challenges that we felt we would have with, staffing it, the point of sale there, everything, but the South Walton Beach Vendor Association is working through those, and now going in the summer, they'll continue to work as designed, and we'll be able to report at the end of the year that it has been successful. And hopefully the Board of County Commissioners will agree to extend it to other beaches. I don't know how far. I'm assuming, probably next year, the rest of the regional beach accesses. And then the year after that, consideration for neighborhood beach accesses that have a lot of private beach. So that's working good. Our other capital improvement projects, Deer Lake Bridge got set last week.
Beautiful.
They're now pouring the concrete deck, and they're working on the approaches to it. Shouldn't be long before it's open back up. The 10 neighborhood beach accesses in Cedar Road and Eastern Lake area, we suffered through those. As we move, we've got delayed on our permit, so we got delayed starting them, and unfortunately, the construction carried on through spring break, made some people unhappy. In the end, I think everybody's happy with the finished product, and it's a great example of what the rest of them are going to look like. So, as you know, on this committee, we have all of our existing boardwalks permitted, and they have funding available. Some of that funding has been moved to reserves. When we get ready to do it, we'll move it back into the capital improvement budget. We'll be starting some of them back up in October, and try to do it in October, November, December timeframe, and hopefully ease some of the anxiety that was created by closing certain boardwalks or accesses in spring break. Dune Allen Free Beach Access is underway. They have a foundation, the pilings in for the building, curbs and gutters in, they're putting in the base for the parking lot. We've had to extend that schedule for 45 days, because it took 45 days to get a building permit from the time we issued the notice to proceed. We felt like it would take a week or two, it took 45 days. It's because of the backlog of permitting in the building department. No cost change to it, just an extension of time. The Miramar beach access is still in design permitting. We're getting close to the end of that. Waiting on FDEP permits. We should be able to start construction in that probably October, November. And then our Seagrove Regional Beach Access, about 50% complete design permitting. Still working with the people that do wetland mitigation, and then we'll send it to the FDEP. We expect some challenges on that because of the wetland mitigation issues, but still looking at probably first of next year start construction on it. And that's what takes on that.
Great. And from the looks of the BCC meetings, you all are still pursuing other properties pretty aggressively. So wonderful. Best wishes. Good luck.
Good luck.
Everything.
Let me know if you need a realtor.
We have another public workshop. Is that public workshop tonight or the next on the 15th?
Tonight's on park.
Huh?
Tonight's parking.
On Stinky's parking.
Tonight? Okay. So yeah, funny games tonight at 5:30 right here.
Indeed.
Is anybody like to
Have fun with that.
It's going to be good. The whole gallery filled up.
Nice, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of inquisitive people.
And then on the 16th at 5:30, we have the Graydon Beach Public Restrooms Workshop.
That would be a great concept.
16th at 5:30?
That's so interesting that you have to have a public workshop for that. Just build a
Public
bathroom.
workshop prior to the BCC meeting for Walton Dunes and Hammond Avenue.
When is that?
The 14th before the BCC meeting.
3?
2 o'clock.
2. I think it's going to take 2 hours.
I predict that they get every bit of it.
Darn it.
People
Schedule another.
hanging around afterwards.
Ugh.
I'm getting a lot of email feedback, both pro and against. It's going to be another, this is already, we've already had 3 public workshops on this over the last 3 years. There was a public workshop prior to my coming here in 2012. And so, yeah, there's, like I said, a lot of passion for and a lot of passion opposing.
Well,
Guaranteed to be a fun time. Come on in.
yes. Well, and we've got the customary use issue pressing, making that more pressing than in the past, I think. So it's getting to be pretty heated.
A lot of things changing in our community.
Yep, for sure. Good luck. Thank you for being a martyr and doing all that. One general comment I just want to make is that I am just so happy to see the improvements being made that you just went through, and there are others as well. It's good to see, and it's quality work, quality design. This place and our people deserve that, and so thank you all for what you're doing there.
Appreciate it. Like I said,
Absolutely.
We get to see the fruits of our labor for the last 2.5 years,
Yep.
or the next year and a half. We've been through a long design and permitting process for a lot of things, and now we're starting to build them. We've got the money to build them. Like I said, we have money stashed away in reserves that we had appropriated in previous years. We don't capital improvement money, it can get carried over, or we can stash it back in reserve. We've got it earmarked, and so when these things, get ready to be bid out for construction, we have that money available, we can build them.
Great.
So, like I say, I've been working hard for a long time, and nothing's been shown, and now it's going to show.
Right.
That's great.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, for all your work and all the team's work and the commission and advisory council, everybody. It's all good stuff. All right. Council comments. Does anybody have anything from up here that you want to talk about? I do. Go.
You know the information boards that we have on the boardwalk that are supposed to be taken up in the winter and stored so that they look nice for spring break when you put them back down? I don't think they picked those up this year. The paint,
Which ones?
the informative boards, about the
ones with the
flags.
ladder in?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we were going to take them up there in a
I
minute.
never heard that.
No, I thought we
We
were.
replace them periodically as we need them.
Okay, because the
We have a
paint is
whole
really,
pallet full of those boards.
because the paint's really peeling on a lot of them. They just look a little tacky. I've had several people tell me
Are
that.
we talking about the ones that have the router?
Mhm,
that have
yes.
epoxy in them?
Yes.
Or the ones that are
Yes.
vinyl?
No, the routed ones.
Okay.
Just
We'll,
several.
I'll put that on Josh's list of things to look at.
Okay. I've had a lot of people ask me to ask you on social media, please start posting where people can access and use the beach and not be run off the beach. State parks, we need to emphasize the state parks. We need to be talking about that at the Visit South Walton page. They need to be telling people where they can go to the beach.
Okay.
Because my Facebook page, I'm getting slammed with that, and I try not to talk about that.
Glad you brought that up. We recently hired a new social media
Good.
curator,
Excellent.
and her job is to monitor social media channels. She's developing a Facebook page for beach operations,
Good.
another Facebook page for Visit South Walton, to be used specifically for the purpose of disseminating information about South Walton. So we'll still have our visitor-facing Facebook page, but we'll have two units, and we also are having a rollout of a brand new website in the
Good.
near future. And some of that information you talk about will be on there.
Okay, good.
We recognize the need of what we call in-market
Yes.
marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're talking about.
Okay, good. Next, a sidewalk on 393. I know you've told me no 3 years, but that road is getting so busy and there's so many people riding bicycles on there, and they have done the shoulders, so I know if they can do shoulders, why can't they put a bike lane there for people to ride bikes or
My
walk?
understanding that Walton County has the design and permitting either complete or underway, and are waiting for the appropriate funding for it.
Excellent.
You talking
So
south?
I will,
393, south 393.
I will follow back and include you guys in that.
And I would agree with that. Working right there, I see it all the time.
Thank you. Oh, I've seen too many people killed at the corner.
We did the design for that bike path, and DEP actually issued our permits in October of 2018.
Okay,
We've been waiting on our Army Corps permits, and from what I understand, that project is actually already budgeted, but we're waiting on our Army Corps permits that have been in for over a year now.
okay.
And so there were some wetland impacts as part of it. The connector road from Helen McCall Park out to 393 is out for bid right now.
Okay,
So that's moving ahead. We're hoping to do it all at the same time, but the Army Corps has been sitting on our permits for well over a year now. So,
Gosh, why is so frustrating? All right.
next, we need a swimming pool in South Walton. I have so many people asking me, why don't we have a pool here? We need to teach our kids how to swim here.
Okay.
This, right there by the Boys and Girls Club would be a perfect central location. What do we need to do to start that? I mean, it was
Okay.
earmarked. I made the Destin YMCA pool happen, but it took me 10 years to make it happen. I don't know that I'm old enough to make it happen.
A venue like that is on the county commissioner's radar. The
Good.
reason I say that is because there has been some previous discussion about
Yes.
the golf garden property.
Yep.
So we were offered a portion of that property.
Right.
One commissioner proposed an idea of a venue that would include some sort of indoor, arena that could be used for basketball, volleyball, other court sports.
Mhm.
That also included an outdoor area for some other type sports, and also a public swimming pool. Now, the golf garden property has gone in and out of availability.
Right.
There's, the developer that has it is pursuing one of his plans. At the same time, he is pursuing selling us a portion of it. And, that comes with some, terms and conditions of sale that helps him out, of course. But, so it's on the radar. So what you can do as individual or as a committee is certainly, take action on it in the form of, we recommend or we approve of or whatever or support. And you individually can do it as well.
Okay.
You know how it works. Stand up at a county commission meeting, give the general agenda or under public comments and say,
Maybe we can put that on our agenda for next meeting?
you certainly can.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
It's not inappropriate to do it right now under council comments. I mean, you can, at any time as a council member, you can
That's right.
say,
Right.
make a motion that we pass a resolution of support for the Board of County Commissioners to consider some form of public swimming facility.
Okay. We need to have a lap pool and a separate pool for the kids, please.
And I would say parentheses S.
Yes.
Like, if there's one almost
Plural.
at the Okaloosa County line,
We
a
need
lot
another
of
one.
people, especially in season, are
Yeah.
not gonna access that
I agree.
through 98 traffic. So,
I guess I think it would be appropriate for this committee, as a destination improvement committee, to
It's a
offer
big destination
resolution in support of the pool. It doesn't have to identify where it is, but there's a need in South Walton for pools.
Okay.
I would recommend you add the hot tub and then.
No hot tub, not for the public. And we recently did an necropsy
So, well, hold
on a
on.
baby dolphin
Hold on.
whose stomach was full of balloons. Is code enforcement
So are you gonna
stopping?
make a motion on that?
We
Or
might
you gonna do that today?
I was
yeah.
gonna do that next time.
You can do it next time. or
Well,
say,
I would
you
like to
can
make
a
do it
motion
now.
that,
You can do it now, that way it.
I'd love to make a motion that South Walton County is in dire need of a swimming pool for the, swimming pools, plural, for the public use and the tourist.
You have a second? Anyone?
Oh, no.
I will pass the gavel if I need to. If you want me. All right, I'm gonna pass the gavel. Can I second it if I pass the gavel?
No, sir.
All right, I'll second that motion. All right, any comments?
That's me.
Oh, so you pass the gavel, so
Oh, you do it. Jump in. I told
Any
you you
comments?
wouldn't
Any
have to
discussion
start
here?
right away. I lied. I'm sorry.
No? You call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? All right, passes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Easy as that.
All right.
So we need to check with
Baby
code
dolphin.
enforcement because my people in my industry are putting balloons on signs to attract attention. And I think the scenic corridor is not supposed to have balloons and wind feathers and,
That's correct.
is that gone away?
There are specific restrictions on scenic corridors for signage, and you're correct. It's a
Attachments.
street-side code enforcement issue.
Okay,
I would recommend that you contact
okay,
planning department, street code enforcement, and they're gonna ask you to file a complaint.
okay,
And they're probably gonna want you to be specific,
okay.
but I
Do you have
will also
photos of that
pass
baby's
along
stomach
my
contents?
counterpart.
It was a post, my post on Facebook got over 3,000 people about the balloons.
I'm
And
just
I
saying
have
you could
already told the
submit
realtors, I was
photos.
trying to educate the realtors as well, but code enforcement needs to stop and say, hey, you can't have these here. Not fine them, but just take them
I'll
out.
pass it along to my counterpart, that it came up as a council discussion, and just a committee discussion,
Okay,
and what they do is give it to them. But I do know that they're complaint driven, and if you want some action taken, you can
Okay.
file a complaint.
I just hate to do that. And the next, an update on reclaiming the accesses for the public use of the coastal dune lakes. Remember, we talked about that last year, where the neighbors on either side have just kind of taken over the accesses that were deeded.
Right.
Any work on that? I know you've been
I've
busy.
taken the information you gave me, and
Okay.
I've cataloged it, and I've done nothing else with it beyond that.
Okay,
I've had some brief conversations with different people. No individual has really expressed an appetite for it. But maybe it needs to be in the form of a question to the collective body,
okay.
Which collective body?
Board of County Commissioners.
I mean, do they even know that the accesses that were deeded for the public to use is being taken over by the neighbors on either side and blocked off?
They do. And once again, I mean, you as a Destination Improvement Board committee can start this action.
Okay.
Is the Coastal Dune Lakes Advisory Committee involved in this?
Should I get the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board on that?
I would.
Most certainly, I
Okay.
think they should be in on it.
Because that's where it started with me. I mean, I've been working on this for 6 years.
Yeah.
Trying to open them up.
I think at this point, you know, probably appropriate if you feel so to make a motion in the form of a resolution, or maybe it's just a motion to identify and
Reclaim.
seek consideration for opening these identified coastal Dune Lake.
Deeded
access
accesses. Yeah, they were deeded.
And my prediction is that it will end up at the higher committee in the result of holding a public workshop.
Okay.
So, you know, right now, I think it would be identify and you know, which we already have. I have
Right.
most of them, or I have all of them. So that's fairly easy to do, but as a committee, you ought to, take some action on to get the ball rolling, so to speak.
Okay.
And then I would also go to the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board.
Okay.
You can ask me to do that as a liaison, and I can bring it up there.
I can ask
Yes.
Melinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it came from both, that would be ideal.
Yeah, let me talk to them and let's get it from all sides.
Okay, and we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Sure.
So is that a motion from Mary Lou?
It's a motion to bring it to the next meeting?
Well, you don't do that, you can just say, I think her said she would like to see, talk to the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board,
Mhm.
to get their understanding of it, and then at the next meeting, there may be a motion made
Is that what you want?
to,
Okay.
move forward to the TDC.
All right,
Thank you.
great. If somebody can just make sure it makes it onto the agenda.
I'm sorry, this is all just stuff that was
No.
years past.
No, it's
we
good.
No
haven't resolved.
apologies. Please keep at it.
Tell them to
Anything
catch up.
else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. I have a brief update for you guys, if that's all right. In November, we took an action to recommend to the TDC Advisory Council that they recommend to the Board of County Commissioners they pursue an initiative to underground the utilities in South Walton. So I just want to give you a very brief update on that. I did present that at the April TDC Advisory Council meeting, and they approved it unanimously to make the recommendation up to the Board of County Commissioners. So I'm working with Jay now on, how and when that will happen, hopefully pretty soon. And on a side note, I took it upon myself to just test the waters out there in the public about support for this, and have gotten a pretty good stack of letters of support from business owners, developers, realtors, bunch across the board, nonprofit organizations, property owners associations, the big ones.
Sure.
There's a ton of support in the community for this, and everybody I talk to is just basically like, please, yes, yesterday, when can they start? So, and there is also some good, some positive indication from the new management of Gulf Power. When NextEra purchased them, they let everyone go there, VP level and above, and brought in Florida Power and Light people. I've had one direct meeting and some offhand conversations with both the president of Gulf Power and a few of their first level VPs. They are very positive about undergrounding, very aggressive about undergrounding, and they asked how they could help.
Sweet.
And that was unexpected.
Nice.
That is different from the response I get for the last 5.5 years from any other utility company. So, so there's, we'll see what happens, but some positive indicators there, and some changing tides. The state legislature just passed a bill related to a new way to fund undergrounding, among other things, that will help storm protection plans get done for the utility, the public, or the private or investor-owned utilities. So that's the update there. And stay tuned. And if you want to support this personally, through your business, both, you can get a letter of support to me. I can provide you with examples of what I've been getting from other people, and also watch for it on the BCC agenda so you can speak in support. Okay, council comments done. Public comment. Come on up.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
My name's Bob Sullivan, and I live on Walton County's other scenic corridor. It's called Scenic Gulf Drive, in case you've never heard of it. I'm here because I think last time I was here, maybe it was a year, maybe almost 18 months now, and we were going through a lot of time and effort and energy to pick out furniture and park benches and all sorts of nice things that were going to be put along the scenic, or along the scenic corridor and the bike path. Where'd all that stuff go? Does anybody know?
Brian, you want to provide an update? Brian can provide us an update.
Bob, we have not done anything else on it. We do have a guideline of what benches look like. There was some understanding that as we rebuilt past, we would put in what we call rest areas, and those benches would be installed at that point. It looks like we're not going to get over that area until sometime in 3 to 5 years, so we probably ought to readdress it and go ahead and put in benches without the appropriate, what we consider rest area bump out.
We have a bad problem with bike racks. Bike racks are rusting, falling apart. I mean, there's a lot of problems.
Public bike racks or bike racks that businesses are putting in?
Well, I would think they're yours because they're on a pad.
The brown hoops?
No, the old type.
Oh, those may be ours if they're on, maybe the old kind that Public Works installed on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's right. They're quite old. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about. I just want to check my notes here, but and I don't think you have jurisdiction to do these kind of things, but it's things that I think from a destination point of view you got to look at. You may have seen in the paper recently where the state apparently now has said that they're going to authorize these motorized scooters and these motorized boards that these kids on, and now I saw one the other day going down Scenic Gulf Drive. It's just a wheel, guy standing on a wheel. So what about the signs that along the bike path or the multi-purpose path that says no motorized vehicles? Who's going to address that? Do we know? Brian?
Right, so if the state of Florida changes what they define as a bicycle, or what's included in a bicycle's definition, our code will still be applicable because we mirror what is Florida's statute on bicycles. All right, and so what will happen is they basically say that type of vehicle
It's a bicycle.
fits the definition of bicycle.
So we'll have motorized traffic on.
Unfortunately, we probably will. I saw that same thing in the news, and I said, well, here's a roller coaster ride I'm going to go up and down on, because I don't think it's given full consideration of the impact.
Yep.
The one senator or congressperson that was proposing it was talking about that, you know, it's hard to get around with Mel Ponder.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea for people to get around on. Well, obviously, he hadn't been on our multi-use path that has, you know, pedestrians, older bikers, younger bikers, people that haven't biked in 20 years.
Yeah.
Crosswalks.
Golf carts. When I read that, I didn't think that they really were addressing a multi-purpose path like we have. What they were saying was these little scooters can get on the bike path, which is out in the street in most places. So it's a whole different thing for us on both 30A and Scenic Gulf Drive. You're going to have that stuff on.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be addressed, and I don't know whether you can bring it up to the TDC or if it belongs in the TDC. It probably belongs at the county or the sheriff's department.
Okay, so we can address it by county code. Okay, we can change our code so that it has, you know, prohibitions that are exclusive to us. I would bet, because of the state's recent attitude of preemption of local county codes, that as soon as we do something like that, they would say, no, I'm not going to allow you to do that. And tough luck. the scooter industry is, gave us a bunch of money and we want to
You're gonna have to paint lines down the center of the multi-use path, bikes this side, pedestrians that.
there's certain ways to look at it. Let's see how bad it gets.
Three-wheelers?
I did recognize a certain bicycle owned company had added some scooters to their fleet. I stopped by and addressed them and explained to them that, those do not meet the definition of bicycle because they're not human assisted. So that's what, the way it reads now is you can have a motorized
Scooter.
vehicle if it's human assisted. And it can't go over 20, I think it's 20 miles, maybe 22 miles an hour. And so that's how they do the bikes they have now. The people that have the.
Well, I think you're gonna lose on the motorized skateboards, you're gonna lose on motorized, on these motorized union wheels, or whatever they call them, because they're all human assisted. My next subject, Cliff, I'm glad you're here, and that has to do with the intersection at Holiday Road, up where they built the new big Alberts. There's a stop sign there, and a few years ago, we had a bicycle sign painted on the ground with a stop, so that bicycles would understand they need to stop. That is not, those lines that go across the street indicating the multi-purpose path prevent bikers from ever looking on the ground to see the stop sign on the ground. It was right through the intersection. And we have a problem there. And my suggestion to you, Cliff, right, because I think you comment on this, is that we eliminate those white lines crossing the street at Holiday and don't give people the indication that that's part of the walkway. There is no crosswalk. See, that's the problem. But when they built our multi-purpose path, at every intersection or driveway, they painted 2 white lines to give you an indication that you were still in the bike.
I'm with you now.
So it crosses Holiday, just like that. And people they don't see this, they don't pay attention, they just think they have the right of way.
That's issue we address in our county engineering department.
I understand, but so the question is, don't bring it here, take it there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Cliff is a private engineer.
Pardon me?
Cliff is a private engineer.
Yeah, I understand that, but Cliff was in on the build of this whole thing, and that's why he's looking, because he remembers the thing. And another question that I probably should address to Cliff, since he's here. On the boardwalk, the one you built, there are signs at either end of that boardwalk that say no bicycles, no skateboards, no nothing. There's no reference to those signs that I can tell. Are those signs legal?
You mean there's no,
As you enter the boardwalk.
yeah, I know what sign you're talking about, you're saying there's no,
Yeah, the sheriff's
no
attitude.
ordinance number? No ordinance number, is that what you're saying? Those are MUTCD signs, and I think they are legal. They're manual uniform traffic control signs. I believe they are legal. I think what you're referring to is no parking signs that would have an ordinance number or something like that on them.
Well, he won't enforce any sign on scenic golf traffic because it doesn't have the ordinance number on it.
The sheriff one?
Yeah.
Once again, that is, as much as,
I understand.
I don't want to say like this, but it's a sheriff's issue because
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at, these are things to improve the destination, and whether or not there's influence by the TDC or not, because you can go to the sheriff, the sheriff's he's very quick to say, somebody put up a legal sign, I'll enforce it. Oh, that's it. So I don't, you can go like, whatever happened to the county? I have not seen anyone from the county on Scenic Golf Drive improve that boardwalk, painting signs, doing anything in over a year. Well over a year. I don't know where they are. And something,
when I say we did, the county did address some of that. It was probably over a year ago, and it was east, west of our park down there. So here's what comes into a problem. That's actually considered a sidewalk. And it's part of the public works' responsibility, not the TDC's responsibility. We do go down and repair. When we see the obvious problem with it, I'll notify public works. I'll say, can you get to it? If you can't, I got some guys that can get to it. If there's a large wholesale repair, renovation, and restoration, public works project.
Who's doing the vegetation? Do you do that or Public Works?
We do the vegetation in and around the improved areas by Seascape. The little islands that we have in parking areas.
Parking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, anyway, I don't want to take up time. I just needed a forum to bring some of this stuff up so that you're aware of it, and if you ever come up our way, you may get a chance to see it, so. Good seeing y'all again.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you,
for
Bob.
coming.
Thank you very much.
I'll get Josh. I'll get Josh to come down. You know Josh.
I didn't think Bob would ever stop.
Thank you, Cliff. What do you have for us?
I just got two quick items. Cliff Nauer, Knauer, 20 Grayling Way, also Dewberry Engineers. I think that the Aliqual dog park folks pulled themselves off the agenda, I think. And so what I wanted to do is pass out something to you guys that's just like a conceptual plan of what the Aliqual folks are looking at trying to expand the Aliqual dog park into. It's a highly used facility. We have no ask, and I'm not asking for anything from you guys, but it's just a conceptual plan and some aerials of what are out there now. It's the old JD.
Next meeting in July to make a presentation.
Okay, okay. All right, so all I have is just a conceptual sketch for you guys to look at, just to give you an idea of what it is they're proposing to do. And I'll pass that out in just a second. The second item I got is I'm a treasurer of Friends of 30A. I've been on the board since Tim Pauls was commissioner. And we came to you guys one time before with a project called Friends Corner,
Yes.
which is at the corner of Eastern Lake Drive and County Road 30A. Kimley Horn, DOT is paying Kimley Horn to do the design for the gazebo and the landscaping and all that stuff. And their cost estimate right now is like 200 grand. And we initially thought it was going to be around 100 grand.
To design?
No, for construction. No,
Thank
that's
God.
total construction cost.
Good.
And so we thought it was originally going to be around 100. And so we were going to apply to St. Joe Foundation for 50 and make an ask of the TDC for the other 50. It looks like it's going to be more than the 100 grand that we talked about. And so we're looking at breaking it into two phases. And so we're not asking anything from you guys right now, but just kind of putting it on your radar that we're still working on that project. The cost is double what we thought it was going to be, and that Kimley Horn's still doing the final design on it. And so we'll come back at some point and present to you guys on what it is that we're trying to do.
Great.
Have you guys collaborated with Trees on the Coast on that?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah, they're donating all the live oaks.
Okay.
They're going to go along the County Road 30A frontage on the project, and we're coordinated with all the utility companies on where theirs are going to go as well. Yep. So I'll pass these out. It's just for information for you guys, and I guess they'll do their spiel when they come. I'm just trying to help Lori and Taylor Hood. I did the new Aliqual facility for them as a freebie, and I'm helping them with this one as well.
That's
Good for
great,
you. Thank
Cliff.
you.
Thank you very much. It's
Hey,
great
Brian, can you
stuff.
do me a favor and check on the signs at the beach access at Grayton Beach? Make sure that we have big signs that say driving on beach with permit only. I was down there last Wednesday with my husband for 4 hours, and we saw 3 trucks that had no permits from Texas. And one was
On the west side, you
2.
have to go about 6 times to say,
I just thought maybe they were knocked down. But I mean, there was 2 from Texas and 1 from Alabama, and they were just, yeah, they were wild.
It's a very concerted effort by an individual in Grayton Beach to protest our activity down there.
The driving period?
Protest our code enforcement activity.
Are you kidding?
Really?
Social
Interesting.
media, so,
Well, I gotta tell you, I was flying my kite, and my kite's pretty big and pretty high, and there's some helicopters that come and circle around the coral reef, or the artificial reef, and they darn near took my kite.
That's
ridiculous. There was a complaint made against our department that we were heavy-handed and ever-present.
Oh, my gosh.
We're working through all that right now. The enforcement mechanism is written,
Yes.
and, there's some issues going on in Grayton Beach. But we'll work down here and find out how to take it.
Ah.
I don't know what's going on with all these pages, but
together.
Brian, do we know how much, have a general idea of how much tourists use the Alaqua Dog Park?
We don't have any official records of the usage of it. My understanding, the people that run the park have a number. I'm not sure how they came to that number. I think when they come to us, it'd be a good question to ask them, how do they determine the ratio of residents to non-residents?
It's a great project, desperately needed.
I don't think that's for humans to swim in.
No, that's not your pool.
No,
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
That's great. It's more than we have now.
It's true. Freeport's got a great pool.
You get a copy of that?
Hey, you have a splash pad now.
It's confusing. Just, I'm not sure of
I'll
what.
let you
Oh, I've got
know.
extras.
Get him to send me.
Need extras?
I don't need it. Okay,
It's very confusing.
well, the public is gone, so I think we're done with public comments. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, meeting's adjourned.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank
Thanks,
y'all.